HSBC proposes to privatize Hang Seng Bank. Israelis and Palestinians celebrate Gaza ceasefire announcement. Good evening and thank you for joining us. HSBC Holdings today announced plans to privatize its subsidiary Hang Seng Bank in a deal worth 106.1 billion Hong Kong dollars. The move would end Hang Seng's more than half-a-century listing in Hong Kong. The decision to take Hang Seng Bank private was unveiled in a joint announcement by HSBC Holdings and Hang Seng Bank, in which HSBC will offer $155 per share in a deal totaling $106.1 billion. That represents a roughly 30% premium over Hang Seng's previous closing price. Upon completion, Hang Seng will end its 53-year listing status. HSBC Holdings says the privatization represents a major investment in Hong Kong, demonstrating the group's commitment to the city as a core market, while also streamlining its Hong Kong business structure to improve operational efficiency. Management stressed that the privatization plan is unrelated to Hang Seng's bad debts and that the premium on offer should be attractive to Hang Seng shareholders.
This speaks of HSBC as a group's confidence into Hong Kong as a growth market across opportunities of wealth, capital markets, etc. I just want to reinforce the fact that this is a growth story. This is enacting the implementation of our group strategy in the past 12 months. It has nothing to do strategic-wise to bad debts or real estate-related issues in Hang Seng.
Currently, HSBC holds 63% of Hang Seng shares and will extend the privatization offer to remaining shareholders. HSBC says that offer price will not increase. The payment will be funded internally, and both HSBC and Hang Seng will continue to operate under their respective brands in Hong Kong, maintaining Hang Seng's independent brand identity and branch network. The bank expects privatization to boost HSBC's earnings per share while keeping a 50% dividend payout ratio. However, no share buybacks will be initiated in the next 3 quarters. The Hong Kong Monetary Authority says it will conduct regulatory review on the privatization proposal under established procedures. Some financial advisors say HSBC's premium offer signals confidence in Hang Seng's prospects. Tommy Ong, managing director of TO and Associates Consultancy, says HSBC likely believes that Hang Seng's bad debts have peaked, with room for improvement ahead. He says even if more write-offs continue in the 3rd and 4th quarters, privatization allows Hang Seng to manage disclosure more flexibly, giving the bank more breathing space. In May this year, Hang Seng laid off about 1% of its core staff. Ong expects no more layoffs over the short term. Founded in 1933, Hang Seng Bank is one of Hong Kong's largest Chinese-owned banks. During the April 1965 stock crash, many banks faced runs, with Hang Seng experiencing withdrawals of $80 million in a single day, accounting for 1/6 of its total deposits, and a cumulative loss of $200 million through the entire month. In the end, HSBC stepped in, acquiring 51% of Hang Seng shares for $51 million. Hang Seng still maintained independent operations. In 1969, the Hang Seng Index was established to reflect stock market performances. When Hang Seng was listed on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange in the 1970s, it was oversubscribed by nearly 29 times. The Office of the Ombudsman said some carers cannot obtain respite services managed under the Social Welfare Department, caused by complicated procedures and reactive providers. The office provided 25 recommendations for the department. Simone Biles reports.
Respite services offer short-term day or residential care for the elderly and persons with disabilities living at home. In a press conference on Thursday, the office revealed findings of its investigation into 46 respite services for carers of the elderly and people with disabilities after conducting covert phone operations and site inspections. Some providers would require potential applicants to attend an in-person interview or a home visit for physical and mental condition assessment before submitting an application. While the Social Welfare Department requires users of residential respite services to conduct basic health check before admission, several providers would ask applicants to undergo extra medical examinations, including X-ray, at their own expense.
Our staff asked them why they have these additional tests. I don't think they give us very good answer. This one area we urge the Social Welfare Department to really investigate. How come these units can impose such additional requirements? Does Social Welfare Department know about this?
The office also found that the utilization rate of respite services for the elderly was 50 to 60%, whereas the figures dropped to 10 to 20% for disabled individuals.
We cannot rule out that the low utilization rates are partly attributable to the lukewarm attitude of some service providers, the improper handling of service inquiries and applications. Certain service providers did not fulfill their mission. The performance of these service providers is most disappointing.
The Ombudsman says the Social Welfare Department has accepted all of their recommendations and that the two parties will continue to work together. Memos 9, TVB News.
The government announced that a residential plot in Jordan Valley will be released for sale in the third quarter. The plot is expected to provide 570 units. The government said parts of the residential plot on Choi Hing Road will be used for constructing social welfare facilities. Secretary for Development Bernadette Lin said the plot is situated within a mature community and that the government is positive about the prospect of selling it. The total private housing land supply in the third quarter will support building 6,420 units. And still ahead, U.S. President Donald Trump calls for jailing of Chicago mayor and Illinois governor. Former FBI Director James Comey pleads not guilty to federal charges. And lighting the flame for national games. U.S. President Donald Trump said Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker and Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, both Democrats, should be jailed as they oppose his deployment of National Guard troops to Chicago. Trump deployed hundreds of Texas National Guard troops to Chicago to protect federal property. This as Trump promised very threatening steps against left-wing Antifa and asked right-wing media allies for help identifying backers of the movement. He also asked the federal government to treat Antifa as a terrorist organization. Tracy Furness reports.
Aerial footage shows large groups of demonstrators marching through downtown Chicago Wednesday night, protesting President Donald Trump's deployment of federal troops to an army training center outside the city. Democratic Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker said some 300 of the state's Guard troops are to be federalized and deployed to the nation's third largest city, along with 400 others from Texas. Trump claims the troops are needed to protect federal buildings from left-wing groups such as Antifa, citing Portland as an example of their recent activities.
And in Portland, Oregon, Antifa thugs have repeatedly attacked our offices and laid siege to federal property in an attempt to violently stop the execution of federal law. Everything we're doing is very lawful. What they're doing is not lawful. And what the governor and the mayor of, as an example, you could say of Portland and you could say certainly of Chicago, it's not lawful what they're doing.
Trump made the comments while hosting a panel of conservative influencers at the White House Wednesday for a roundtable highlighting the impact of Antifa protesters and what he called the epidemic of left-wing violence.
Under the Trump administration, we're going after Antifa criminals, and all who fund and support their campaigns are in serious trouble.
Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Former FBI Director James Comey has pleaded not guilty to criminal charges in a case that highlights the U.S. Justice Department's efforts to target President Donald Trump's perceived foes. A judge of the Eastern District of Virginia has scheduled his trial to begin on January 5th next year. Danny Jo reports.
In September, 64-year-old James Comey was indicted by a federal grand jury on 2 felony charges, making a false statement to Congress and obstruction of a congressional proceeding. The indictment was secured just days after the president demanded a faster pace in the prosecutor's action against Comey. Several family members of Comey arrived at a Virginia courthouse on Wednesday for his first court appearance. The arraignment, which lasted less than an hour, was loaded with concerns that the Justice Department is being weaponized in pursuit of Trump's political adversaries. Comey reportedly sat quietly throughout the brief hearing and indicated he understood his legal rights without making any other public statements on the day.
I was in the courtroom where former FBI Director James Comey just pleaded not guilty in the Justice Department case accusing him of lying to Congress in 2020. This kicks off what we expect is going to be a legal battle over these charges. Comey's defense lawyers suggested at the hearing today that they're going to seek to have the charges dismissed before trial by arguing that it was a vindictive prosecution brought at the direction of President Trump.
Comey's lawyer Patrick Fitzgerald says he planned a barrage of legal challenges. The motions would be centered on accusations of a vindictive or selective prosecution and the legality of the appointment and conduct of prosecutor Lindsay Halligan, who previously served as Trump's personal attorney. Comey has denied any wrongdoing and said he's looking forward to a trial, which the district judge set for early January. He was released on his own recognizance after the arraignment. Comey was sacked in 2017 over his handling of an investigation into contacts between Russia and Trump's 2016 campaign. The indictment accuses him of authorizing an FBI employee to disclose information about the probe. Over 1,000 Justice Department alumni have signed a letter describing the case against Comey as an unprecedented assault on the rule of law. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
Hungarian novelist and screenwriter Laszlo Krasznahorkai was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature. The Swedish Academy in Stockholm credited the laureate for his compelling and visionary oeuvre that, in the midst of apocalyptic terror, reaffirms the power of art. Beijing has tightened its grip on rare earth exports. New regulations announced by the Ministry of Commerce to safeguard national security expanded curbs on processing technologies to limit exports to foreign arms manufacturers and certain semiconductor users. The move comes ahead of a prospective meeting between President Xi Jinping and his U.S. counterpart Donald Trump in South Korea later this month. China has added more types of rare earth magnets to its export control list, announced in April, and limited some components and assemblies that contain restricted magnets. Mining, smelting, and separation, magnetic material manufacturing, as well as recycling rare earths from other resources are among the technologies and processes under export restrictions that come into immediate effect. From December 1st, companies overseas using any Chinese components or machinery must also apply for licenses to export controlled items. The Commerce Ministry will in principle reject license applications for military use or production of weapons of mass destruction. Police on Thursday brought in the brother of Paul Ha, one of the wanted fugitives, to assist their investigation into the Hong Kong Parliament. The organization is deemed subversive. Ha's brother left Cheung Kwan O Police Station at around 11 a.m. 60-year-old Ha was accused of inciting subversion of state power under Hong Kong national security law. A bounty of $200,000 is placed on his head. 1 month to go before the 15th National Games opening, representatives from the three hosts, Guangdong, Hong Kong, and Macau, gathered in Guangzhou for the tournament's flame lighting ceremony. The ceremony took place at the Guangzhou Marine Geological Survey Scientific Research Wharf. Gao Zhidan, director of the State's General Administration of Sports of China, Party Secretary of Guangdong Huang Kunming, Hong Kong Chief Executive Zhang Li, and Sam Ho Fai, Chief Executive of Macau, lit the flame together. Guangdong Deputy Party Secretary Meng Fangli says the three regions will host a world-class multi-sport extravaganza with Chinese flair while showcasing national rejuvenation. The fuel of source flame was said to be extracted last month from combustible ice lying over 1,500 meters beneath the surface of the northern part of the South China Sea by the domestically made unmanned deep-sea submersible Haima or Seahorse. It was then transported by a scientific research vessel via the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge and the Shenzhen-Zhongshan corridor before reaching Nansha for storage. The Institute of Guangzhou Marine Geological Survey says the Seahorse submersible can carry out critical scientific research without the need to dispatch humans in the deep sea, noting how it's akin to building an underwater research lab. The girl responsible for lighting the ceremonial torches says, while they encountered challenges during the training process, including rhythm control, it's a privilege to be given the task. The 15th National Games opening ceremony will be held on November 9th. The route of the torch relay will be disclosed at a later date. To sports, American gymnast Simone Biles said she wants to be at the 2028 Los Angeles Olympic but doesn't know if it would be as an athlete. Biles, 28, is the most decorated gymnast in history, with 11 Olympic medals and 30 World Championship podiums. She delivered a talk, The Power of Believing, in Buenos Aires, Argentina, where she tackled mental health issues and spoke about LA.
Everyone likes to talk about LA and what that road looks like for me. So currently I am taking some time off from the gym because I think it's really important that your physical health matches your mental health. And that's why you saw so much of my success in Paris, because the mental and the physical were right on par, and they were right on track with each other. So I think that's really, really important. So I'm not sure what 2028 looks like, but I will be there at some capacity. I just don't know right now if it's on the floor or in the stands, but definitely want to go and be a part of that movement.
And that's the news. Thank you for watching.